It started with his hand on my lower back. Not in an obvious way, no. It was subtle. Soft. Dangerous. I was standing at the kitchen sink, rinsing out wine glasses after our little Saturday night dinner. The music was low, the lights dim. My best friend, Tasha, had gone upstairs to put her kids to bed. It was just me and him, Marcus. He stood behind me, too close. "You're always so helpful," he whispered. I froze. Not because of what he said, but because of how he said it. Like there was a second meaning. I turned my head just enough to see his reflection in the kitchen window. He was looking at me the way a man should never look at his wife's best friend. I should have moved away. I should have laughed it off. But I didn't. Instead, I let the silence hang. His hand slid a little lower, resting for half a second just above my backside before he stepped back. My heart was thudding in my chest. I rinsed the last glass and set it down. "I'll take those," he said, reaching past me. His arm brushed mine. His breath was warm on my neck. And then, just before he pulled away, he whispered, "I've noticed you." That's when the world shifted. That's when I knew something dangerous was coming. Loudspeaker, before I take you back to how this all started, do me a favor, like this video, share it with someone who loves real confessions, and subscribe to this channel. I've got so many stories to tell, and trust me, it only gets crazier from here. I met Tasha 5 years ago at a corporate retreat in upstate New York. We clicked instantly, both of us were loud, ambitious, and funny. She was married. I wasn't. We kept in touch after the retreat, started visiting each other, and before long, I was like part of the family. Her husband, Marcus, was always charming. The type of man who knows how to smile with his eyes. Tall, brown-skinned, athletic. One of those men who listens too well and talks just enough to make you wonder what's going on in his head. At first, he was just her husband. A background character in our friendship. But over time, things shifted. There were small moments. Too small to say out loud but loud enough in my head. A lingering glance. A compliment that sounded a little too personal. A joke that made me blush. Nothing solid. Just heat rising under the surface. I thought it was in my head. Until one night, we were all sitting on the couch watching a movie, and Marcus offered to rub my feet, jokingly, of course. "Girl, I bet your feet hurt in those heels. Want me to help out?" We all laughed, but the way he looked at me while he said it wasn't funny. It was bold. I declined. But something in me stirred that night. Tasha trusted me completely. She called me her sister. She let me crash in her guest room any time I was in town. Sometimes for weekends. Sometimes longer. She'd work her day shifts at the hospital while Marcus worked from home, and I'd be left alone with him most mornings. I told myself I wasn't attracted to him. That it was just the thrill of being noticed. But I knew better. I remember one morning, I walked into the kitchen in an oversized shirt and no bra. He was already there, eating cereal at the counter. His eyes dropped for just a second before he said, "Morning." I pretended not to notice, but my stomach flipped. Later that day, he texted me. "That shirt should be illegal." I didn't reply. But I didn't delete the text either. It wasn't until that Saturday night in the kitchen, when he touched me, that I realized things had gone too far. He had crossed a line. But the truth? I let him. It was never part of the plan. I never meant to be that woman. The kind who betrays her best friend. The kind who lies with a smile and kisses someone else's man behind closed doors. But desire makes liars of all of us. After we cleaned up the dishes, I went outside to get some air. My heart was still racing. The porch light buzzed overhead, the summer air heavy on my skin. Marcus followed. "Did I make you uncomfortable?" he asked, voice low, like he already knew the answer. I should have said yes. I should have walked inside. Instead, I said, "You shouldn't talk to me like that." He smiled. "That's not a no." And then it happened, he stepped closer, took my face in his hands, and kissed me. Not soft. Not sweet. It was deep, urgent, hungry. The kind of kiss you don't forget. The kind of kiss that cracks open a secret you can never bury again. When he pulled away, I looked at him and whispered, "Tasha's upstairs." He leaned in and said, "Then let's not wake her." I went inside. I locked myself in the guest room. And I cried. Because deep down, I knew that was only the beginning. The next morning, I avoided him. I stayed in the guest room longer than usual. Pretended to scroll through my phone. Took my time in the shower. I didn't want to see him. Not because I was ashamed, though I was, but because I didn't trust myself. I kept replaying the kiss in my head. The way he looked at me. The feel of his hands. The way my body had responded even as my mind screamed no. Tasha made pancakes that morning. She was humming in the kitchen, smiling like nothing was wrong. Because to her, nothing was. "Did you sleep okay?" she asked as she passed me coffee. "Yeah," I lied. Marcus walked in a few minutes later, shirtless, wearing only his sweatpants. My eyes betrayed me. They looked when they shouldn't have. He smiled at me like we had a secret. And we did. Tasha was the kind of friend who always wanted us around. She loved being a hostess. Over the next few weekends, she kept inviting me back. "You should just move in already," she laughed once. If only she knew. Marcus and I didn't talk about the kiss. Not with words, anyway. But something had shifted. He'd find ways to be near me. Our eyes would meet across the room. His fingers would brush mine when no one was watching. Each time, my pulse spiked. And then came the text. Still thinking about that kiss. I stared at it for 5 full minutes. Typed out a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted again. I finally wrote, "You're married." He replied in less than a minute. "But you didn't stop me." That night, I didn't sleep. One Friday night, Tasha threw a little party. Nothing big, just some drinks, music, and a few friends. She asked me to stay over again. I agreed, even though I knew I shouldn't have. Around midnight, most of the guests were gone. Tasha had too much wine and went upstairs to sleep it off. I was on the couch finishing my drink when Marcus sat beside me. A little too close. "You should probably go to bed," I said. "Why? So I don't kiss you again?" I didn't answer. He took my silence as permission. And he kissed me again, this time longer, deeper, harder. This wasn't a mistake. Not anymore. I kissed him back. Fully. Like I wanted it. Because I did. We didn't go all the way that night. But we came close. Too close. His hands were under my shirt. Mine were in his hair. I don't know how we stopped. Maybe guilt. Maybe fear. Maybe both. I ran to the guest room and locked the door again. I didn't sleep that night either. Loudspeaker, if you're still here watching, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Because this story? It's about to heat up in ways you won't believe. And if you've ever been tempted in ways you couldn't explain, drop a comment. You're not alone. I kept telling myself I could stop it. That it was just attraction. That we hadn't really done anything. But I was lying to myself. Tasha didn't suspect a thing. She would laugh and talk to Marcus while I sat across from them, pretending like I hadn't felt his mouth on mine. Like I wasn't burning inside every time he touched her in front of me. One day, she asked me, "Do you think Marcus is still into me?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" She sighed. "Sometimes I feel like we're just coexisting. Like roommates. He doesn't look at me the way he used to." I wanted to scream. He was looking at someone else. He was looking at me. You're overthinking, I told her. He loves you. Another lie. She smiled, seeming relieved. Thanks. You always know what to say. And that's when I knew I was in deep. The real turning point came 2 weeks later. Tasha had to travel for a weekend conference out of state. She asked me to house sit. She didn't want her kids left with strangers, and I was her most trusted person. Trusted. That word felt like poison in my mouth. I said yes. Marcus was supposed to be away that weekend too, for work, or so I thought. But Friday night, just after I put the kids to bed, the front door opened. I was in the kitchen when he walked in with a small duffel bag. You're home? I asked, shocked. He shrugged. My trip got cancelled. That night, everything changed. We didn't even pretend to resist this time. It started with a movie. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, trying to act normal. He poured us both a glass of wine. Halfway through the movie, he moved closer. I didn't move away. His arm brushed mine. Then rested behind me. His hand slid around my waist, slow and deliberate. And then, without a word, we kissed. The kind of kiss that says, "This is happening." He stood up and offered me his hand. I took it. We didn't go to my room. We didn't go to Tasha's either. He led me down to the basement guest room, the one they never used. The lights were dim. The air was thick. Clothes came off. Skin met skin. And we didn't stop. Not until the early hours of the morning, when we lay breathless beside each other, tangled in sheets that didn't belong to us. I wanted to feel guilt. I expected to. But what I felt was relief. Like I had finally scratched an itch I'd been trying to ignore for months. That night, I fell asleep in his arms. In his house. In his bed. The same bed where his wife sleeps every night. It wasn't a one-time thing. That's the lie people like to tell themselves. That was just one night. A mistake. But that night in the basement guest room didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like the beginning. Marcus and I didn't even try to fight it anymore. We didn't pretend to be innocent. Not when he leaned over me in the kitchen the next morning and whispered, "Last night wasn't enough." Not when I pressed myself into him, still wearing his wife's bathrobe. Tasha came back Sunday evening. She hugged me. Thanked me. Told me I was a lifesaver. All while the smell of her husband's cologne was still on my skin. The days after were a blur of guilt and desire. I kept my distance, or at least I tried. But Marcus wasn't done with me. And I wasn't done with him. He started texting me more. Things that weren't innocent anymore. When can I see you again? I keep thinking about how you sound when you're underneath me. She doesn't know what you give me. I hated myself for reading them over and over. For waiting for the next one. For replying. We made a rule. Never in her house again. It was too risky. So we started meeting elsewhere. Loudspeaker, if you're still here, take a second and like this video. Share it if you've ever felt torn between right and wrong. And hit that subscribe button. Because what happened next? I still can't believe I did it. We started booking hotel rooms. Cheap ones during the day. Places no one would expect to see either of us. He'd tell Tasha he had work meetings. I told her I had errands. We'd meet for an hour, maybe 2. And every time we touched, it was rougher. Deeper. More desperate. Like we were both trying to forget we were breaking someone's heart. We stopped asking ourselves why. We already knew the answer. He liked the way I looked at him. I liked the way he touched me. And the danger? It made everything feel hotter. Sometimes, I'd lie in bed at night and wonder who I had become. I wasn't this woman. I wasn't the type to sneak around. To betray a friend. To crave someone I couldn't have. But the truth is, when you've tasted something that forbidden, going back to normal feels like punishment. One afternoon, we were tangled together in a motel bed when he said, "I don't feel guilty anymore." I blinked. Seriously? He rolled onto his back, lit a cigarette, and stared at the ceiling. She stopped seeing me a long time ago. She sees the kids. The bills. The house. Not me. I didn't answer. I didn't want to agree. That would make me part of the excuse. But part of me understood what he meant. And another part was scared, because it meant I wasn't just a body to him. I was filling a space his wife had left empty. We kept it going for weeks. Weeks turned to months. We got good at hiding it. So good, it scared me. He'd meet me in parking lots. He'd text me when she was in the shower. He even started sending me gifts, nothing big, just little things he said reminded him of me. Tasha was still my friend through all of it. Still smiling. Still trusting. Sometimes she'd sit with me, sipping wine, talking about how lucky she was to have Marcus. "You know," she said once, "if I ever caught him cheating, I'd lose it. I'd go crazy." I nodded, my throat burning. She laughed. "But I know he wouldn't. Not Marcus. He's too loyal." And I said the worst thing I've ever said in my life. "Yeah, you're right." One night, she invited both of us to dinner at her mom's house. We drove there separately. During dinner, she left the table to take a phone call. Marcus and I were sitting across from each other. Under the table, his foot slid across mine. Slow. Deliberate. Familiar. I looked at him, and in that moment, it hit me. We had become good at this. Too good. The final straw, the moment I knew we were all the way in, came one rainy afternoon. He told Tasha he had to work late. She believed him. He picked me up and took me to a cabin rental about an hour outside town. Said he needed a night away from everything. I packed a bag. We stayed there the whole night. No phones. No guilt. He cooked dinner, played old soul music, and undressed me slowly like he was making love, not just having sex. It scared me how much I wanted it to be real. Because in that moment, it was. The next morning, we drove back. We said nothing on the way. When he dropped me off, he looked at me and said, "We've gone too far to stop." And I nodded. Because deep down, I didn't want to. It's crazy how fast something secret can start to feel normal. One day you're kissing your best friend's husband behind closed doors, swearing it was a mistake. The next, you're lying in his arms in a hotel room you both agreed to never return to, laughing like you belong there. We weren't just sneaking around anymore. We were planning. Texting constantly. Meeting twice a week, sometimes 3. We got bold, dangerous, even. I'd park down the street and walk to the room. He'd pay cash. We'd check in under fake names. We had rituals. He always brought me sweet tea from my favorite place. I always wore black lace. We made rules like it was some sort of twisted relationship. But the guilt never really left. It waited. Lurking in the silence after we finished. In the way he looked at his phone when she called. In how quickly I had to leave, barely dressed, while he stayed behind to wipe the sheets and spray cologne so she wouldn't know he'd been with someone else. Sometimes I'd cry on the way home. And still, I'd meet him again the next time. One afternoon, as I was slipping my heels back on in the motel room, he looked at me and said, "Do you ever think about what would happen if she found out?" I froze. He leaned back, watching me button my blouse. Like, really think about it. I didn't answer. Because I did think about it. Every day. She'd never speak to me again. She'd probably scream. Maybe cry. Maybe hit me. And I wouldn't even blame her. "I try not to," I said quietly. He looked at me for a long time and then said, "She doesn't see me anymore." "But you do." That made me ache in places I didn't know existed. Loudspeaker, if this story is hitting too close to home, hit that like button. Drop a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe, because we're not even close to done. This story gets messy, fast. One day, we almost got caught. It was a Friday. We were in our usual spot. I was lying on the bed in nothing but a towel, scrolling through my phone while Marcus stepped into the shower. That's when I heard the knock. Then another. Then a voice. "Tasha? Marcus?" I jumped up like lightning had hit me. It was her. Tasha. Standing right outside the motel room door. I looked through the peephole, and my stomach twisted. She was on the phone, talking to someone, pacing outside. I panicked. Marcus came out, water dripping down his chest, towel slung low. "She's outside," I whispered, heart thudding. "Tasha's outside the room." His face turned white. We shut off the lights. I grabbed my clothes. He wrapped the towel tighter and motioned for me to hide in the bathroom. We stood frozen in silence for what felt like hours. But she didn't knock again. Eventually, her voice faded. She must have been calling someone else. Maybe she was just lost. Maybe it was a crazy coincidence. But after that, we never returned to that motel. It should have been a wake-up call. But instead, it made things more intense. The fear, the rush, the guilt, it all blended into something that felt like a drug. We started getting more reckless. Once, he kissed me in the back seat of her car while she was inside the grocery store. Another time, we fooled around in my apartment with the windows wide open. We didn't care. Because somewhere deep inside, we wanted to get caught. Tasha kept confiding in me. About him. About their marriage. She said they were distant, that he barely touched her anymore. "He's just somewhere else," she told me. "Not with me." I told her to talk to him. To plan a getaway. To dress sexy. All the while, I was the one stealing his attention. Marcus became different too. He stopped pretending he cared what would happen. He started saying things like, "I don't think I can keep living this lie, and maybe we should just tell her." But I knew better. He wanted the thrill, not the truth. He loved the forbidden part. And so did I. But the deeper we got, the harder it became to breathe. There were moments, short, quiet ones, where I'd catch myself staring at the ceiling in some dark room, wondering how I got here. I used to be a good person. Loyal. Kind. Now I was someone's secret. Someone's shame. I began to question everything. Was this love? Was this just lust? Or was I just addicted to feeling wanted? One night, after another hotel escape, I asked him, "If you had to choose, me or her?" He looked at me and said nothing. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. People always ask, did she ever find out? The answer is no. She didn't. Tasha still doesn't know that the woman she called her sister, the one who stood beside her during hard times, the one who watched her kids, laughed in her kitchen, cried in her arms, was also sleeping with her husband. She still hugs me when she sees me. Still texts me, still says "love you" at the end of calls. And sometimes, when I look at her, I feel like I'm going to vomit. Because I know what I did. The affair didn't end with a bang. No big discovery. No dramatic scene. It ended in silence. One morning, Marcus just stopped texting. I waited. Hours passed. Then a day. Then 3. When I finally heard from him, it was short. "We need to stop. I can't keep doing this. I need to fix things at home." That was it. No phone call. No goodbye. Just a message that shattered everything. And I couldn't even cry about it. Because how do you grieve something no one even knows existed? I didn't reply. I didn't try to reach out. I just let it end. And slowly, he stopped being the man I craved. He became the man I regretted. I see them sometimes. Out together. Holding hands. Smiling. She once sent me a photo of the two of them on a beach, captioned, "Working on us. Thank you for always being in our corner." I stared at that picture for a long time. She looked happy. So did he. I should have felt relieved. I should have felt proud that maybe, in some twisted way, we helped bring them back together. But all I felt was hollow. Loudspeaker, if you're still watching, like this video. Share it if you've ever kept a secret so deep it hurts to breathe. And subscribe to the channel. Because these are the confessions no one else will say out loud, but I will. There's a kind of loneliness that comes from doing something you can't tell anyone. No one knows what I did. Not my coworkers. Not my family. Not even the one friend who tells me everything. But I live with it. Every time I see Tasha's name on my phone. Every time she thanks me for being loyal, for being a good friend. Every time she says she doesn't trust other women, but trusts me. It eats at me. But I smile. I laugh. I play the part. Because after all this time, I've learned something. Some secrets don't belong to the people you hurt. They belong to the ones who carry them. And I carry this one every day. I've dated since then. Tried to move on. Some men were sweet. Some were wild. None of them stuck. Because deep down, I still feel like the woman who slept with her best friend's husband. I still hear his voice sometimes. Still remember how he made me feel like I was more than a friend. More than a secret. Like I mattered. Even though I didn't. I'll never tell her. Not because I'm afraid she'll hate me. But because she won't deserve the pain. She didn't do anything wrong. She loved me. Trusted me. Gave me her home, her family, her friendship. And I took advantage of it. So this story stays here. With you. With the screen. With a name I'll never say. Because I got away with it. But I lost something too. I lost myself.